So, in light of the recent events that happened in New Orleans, the terrorist attack, the driver chose to pick an unsuspecting Bourbon Street at 3:15 in the morning and use a truck to run over revelers, pedestrians, people just out on Bourbon Street. There was a major football game that was going to be played later on in that day, and so the driver knew that there was going to be people in the street. More and more information is coming out, and you guys are probably hearing about it. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to just take really a couple minutes to say something that's been on my heart really for a long time. The worldviews that we hold are not held in a vacuum. What I mean by that is, in a vacuum, nothing would take the place of a Christian worldview. In a vacuum, the Christian worldview, if it was removed, then it would simply be removed. And there would be nothing to fill that void. That is extremely dangerous. It's erred and it's wrong, and it needs to be said. What we witnessed with Luigi Mangione and his of the United Healthcare CEO, and what we witnessed with this terrorist attacker in New Orleans, is they were inspired by books. They were inspired by ideas. So before we get started, I wanted to read something to you, a book that's been on my bookshelf for a long time, but I lent it out to someone. The book is The Narrative of Frederick Douglass. If you've never read the book, it's an amazing book, but this is from The Narrative of Frederick Douglass. I can attach a PDF in the box below so that you can take a look at it. What Fredrick does is talk about the importance of learning how to read and what happened when he learned how to read. Fredrick knew that the power of reading and understanding what he was reading could change his life. And this is what it says. She, his mistress, Mrs. Auld, very kindly commenced to teach me the ABC. After I had learned this, she assisted me in learning to spell words of 3 or 4 letters. Just at this point of my progress, Mr. Auld found out what was going on and at once forbade Mrs. Auld to instruct me further, telling her, among other things, that it was unlawful as well as unsafe to teach a slave to read. To use his own words further, he said, if you give an inch, he'll take an eel. A should know nothing but to obey his master, to do as he is told to do. Learning would spoil the best in the world. Now, we see, if we teach that nigger, speaking of myself, how to read, there would be no keeping him. It would forever unfit him to be a slave. He would at once become unmanageable and of no value to his master. As to himself, it would do him no good, but a great deal of harm. It would make him discontented and unhappy. These words sank deep into my heart, stirred up sentiments within that lay slumbering, and called into existence an entirely new train of thought. It was a new and special revelation, explaining dark and mysterious things with which my youthful understanding had struggled, but struggled in vain. I now understood what had been to me a most perplexing difficulty, to wit, the white man's power to enslave the black man. It was a grand achievement, and I prized it highly. From that moment, I understood the pathway from slavery to freedom. It was just what I wanted. I got it at the time when I least expected it. Whilst I was saddened by the thought of losing the aid of my kind mistress, I was gladdened by the invaluable instruction which, by the merest accident, I had gained from my master. Though conscious of the difficulty of learning without a teacher, I set out with high hope and a fixed purpose, at whatever cost of trouble, to learn how to read. The very decided manner with which he spoke and strove to impress his wife with the evil consequences of giving me instruction served to convince me that he was deeply sensible of the truths he was uttering. It gave me the best assurance that I might rely with the utmost confidence on the results which he said would follow from teaching me to read. What he most dreaded, that I most desired. What he most loved, that I most hated. That which to him was a great evil, to be carefully shunned, was to me a great good, to be diligently sought. And the argument which he so warmly urged against my learning to read only served to inspire me with a desire and determination to learn. Those are Frederick Douglass's words around reading and learning how to read, and who initially taught him to read, and the consequences of if he should learn to read. Frederick Douglass went on to do great things, but that's the beginning of him learning how to read. This is my book on Eusebius. This is church history. If Herodotus is the father of history, then Eusebius of Caesarea, circa 260 to 339, is certainly the father of church history. He was the first to undertake the task of tracing the rise of Christianity during its crucial first 3 centuries from Christ to Constantine. This is my copy of Eusebius. This is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I think some people have read this book. A little one. This is Brother Lawrence. This is The Practice of the Presence of God with Spiritual Maxims by Brother Lawrence. This is my FCA Bible. This was a gift. This is the gift that we give to all of our huddle leaders. It's tabbed, notated, there's commentary in it. This is a valuable, valuable asset in my library. This is the Book of Mormon. We have Mormon missionaries that frequent our neighborhood, and whenever they come through, they always ask if I want one of these. I say yes, so I can read it and know what it says and know where the differences are. I have nothing to fear, and neither do you. This is my copy of the Quran. The most dangerous thing I see right now is people not reading. The most dangerous thing I see, as Frederick Douglass so beautifully helped at least me understand, was there's power in being able to read and understand the concepts and thoughts that are being presented that will inevitably be lived out in the real world, which we are seeing. I wanted to put this out because we're long past when Christian people would say, oh, I don't read that. I just read my Bible, maybe. Why should I read that? That has no impact on me. I get a chance to lead high school students, and primarily the most important thing that I want people to understand is the Word. Especially the kids understand the Word. And they need to understand that the worldviews at play in the world have consequences. And the parents, you're seeing that. Those worldviews have consequences. Our athletes know, our students know, there are consequences. I wanted to share this because I don't think that instances like these going into the future will stop. I think that people need to understand what's going on and not be fooled and not be just told what the truth is. You need to open the books for yourself, and you need to read where these ideas are coming from, or you will be fooled.